Hi, so today we'll be working on the same code. We'll be adding the exceptions that that I forgot to add. So first, just see the previous video if you haven't watched that. We were doing an implementation of a linked stack of generic type T, and we just forgot to add an exception class. So first, I've already created a new class, so it's called empty collection exception. So create that, and then you can pause the video and create it, and then come back. So it's just public class empty collection exception extends runtime exception. So empty collection exception is a runtime exception through inheritance. And then here we're just going to call the constructor, so public empty collection exception. So it's going to pass in a string collection, so just a string variable. You can call it whatever you want. Then here we'll just call the super reference and say super the plus collection the plus collection plus is empty. So that's it, just save it. Then we'll go back to the links class. So in the pop method here, we'll just add something here. So we'll say, I think it's just if one sec, let me just check. I think it's just if is empty. So if is empty, when you call is empty like that, it's just asking if is empty returns true. Then we'll throw a new empty collection exception, and we'll pass in link stack. And here you can also say throws empty collection exception if you want. So what that's doing is, all it's doing is if you pop a link stack that's empty, then it's going to throw an exception. What you also can do, if you don't want it to cause an exception, is you can just comment this out, and you can write here, you can write system.out.print line, and you can just say the linked stack is empty. Whoops. And then you can return null here if you want. That's another option if you don't want an exception to occur and to mess up the flow of the program. It's just up to you. But if you want, I also do this sometimes when I'm handing in assignments, and then I'll just comment that out and put optional. Optional to throw new exception if you want to, because if you do that, the flow of the program is going to stop, and it's going to go into an exception state where the program basically crashes. But in this way, if it does throw an exception, you can just write that the link stack is empty and return null. So it will never hit these statements, and the next statement will occur after this method. So you can do the same thing here. We can just copy the same thing, paste it here, and it's up to you whatever you want to do. Sometimes your professor might ask you to, if you're in school, they might ask you to throw the exception. Others won't care, and others will just be like, it's up to you whether you want to throw it or just return null. Usually both things should be fine, but maybe you might want to include both just in case, so they don't take marks off for no reason. What's that there? Okay. And we'll just put that right here. You can put else if you want, you don't have to because that's the only option. You could say else return, but you don't need to, that's fine, it should work. Just run it to make sure. Yeah, it works fine. I think that's what it was. We don't need anything for a toString. Size is empty. The only ones are pop and peek, because if you're peeking at an empty stack, then if you return top.getElement, it will probably throw a null pointer exception. And also, if you want, we can add try and catch blocks here. So try that, and then we can just catch a few things. We'll catch null pointer exception E. E, you can name it whatever you want, I just call it E, so it's null pointer exception object E. Here we'll just say e.getMessage, which just prints out a message about the exception. And then we could say e.print stack trace. And you can system.out a message to the user if you want. There's other exceptions you can catch, but we'll just catch one. And if you don't know what a try and catch block is, you can see the previous videos. I think I did videos on it. But all it's doing is it's going to try these code statements, and if an exception occurs, it's going to catch it. But if you don't have the try and catch, then the program could just crash, and with this you can handle it into continuing. But at least that way you're catching and handling it. So if you don't write anything here, you could just system.out, because that's pretty much what happens when an exception does occur. It automatically prints a message and prints the stack trace. But you can just system.out that an exception occurred, null pointer, and you can just return or something. You can just that's it, or you can continue with something. And there's also a finally clause that will execute for sure. You can add that as well. So that's it. And in the next part we'll be doing the diagram. Okay, I'll see you in the next part.